Doctors sounding the alarm about COVID misinformation running rampant on social media. The two doctors you're about to hear from write in a New York Times op-ed that misinformation on Facebook makes their jobs more difficult. So let's talk to them. Dr. Craig Spencer, the Director of Global Health and ER Medicine at New York Presbyterian Columbia University Medical Center. Dr. Sima Yasmin, CNN medical analyst. Thank you both. Important conversation. I'm so glad you're both here. Dr. Yasmin, let's start with you. In your piece, you talk about a colleague, not a doctor, but someone who works in the ER who said, there is a cure for COVID-19. There is not. And even though he was shown evidence proving there's no cure, he said, but I saw it on Facebook. I mean, and he works in the, I mean, come on, how deep does this information go? By the way, that's my every conversation I have with someone I know who's a Trump supporter. Right. I'm like, oh my gosh, but go on.
You feel the pain, Don.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. And there's just another level of scariness to it when it's a healthcare professional. And you think, come on, you should know better. But it really hits home this point, Don, that everyone at some level is susceptible to this health misinformation and disinformation because there is so much nonsense that's circling out there. The people who are pushing it are really preying on the fact that we are already vulnerable right now. We're scared, we're anxious, we're overwhelmed with information. We don't know what to believe. The president's saying one thing, the scientists are saying another. So then you have platforms like Facebook and other social media platforms really spreading this stuff and using algorithms that reward engagement with the bad information. Because the stuff that's crappy, the nonsense, is usually a lot more fantastical, a lot more memorable. You want to share it compared to the kind of boring, dry facts that the medical institutions are putting out there. So this report that came out last week from the organization Avaz looks at how much misinformation and disinformation is spreading on Facebook. They found that in the last year, this stuff got 3.8 billion views. Oh. And it's not just me and Craig that can't keep up. CDC and WHO can't either. They're putting stuff out there on Facebook too, the good information. It's getting nowhere near as many hits and as many views. So it's a really tough situation.
And people are really susceptible to it, especially young people. I find like college age kids who are on social media a lot. Also, they may listen to their parents and they may believe all of this stuff that is absolutely not true, Dr. Spencer. How often do you hear these false claims from your patients?
I hear them all the time, unfortunately. It's not just the patients and it's not just people on the left or people on the right. It's all people. And this has been part of the problem is that this undermining of public health and science since the beginning of this outbreak and this pandemic in the US has resulted in people just don't know where to go. The fact that we don't have the CDC out in front of the public every single day, telling us the updates, giving us some type of information that's credible. People have to find it on Facebook or have to find it on the president's Twitter feed. They don't know where to go for credible information. They're not getting it from the CDC task force, for example, and they're not getting it from the coronavirus task force. They're looking for it, and they're unfortunately finding it on places like Facebook, where viral misinformation spreads faster than the virus itself.